What's going on, everyone? Thanks for clicking on this video. Cool bike to show you today. This is the Himiway Cobra bike, not the Cobra Pro. This is not the mid-drive bike. This is the regular Cobra, the one that's got the 750 watt rear hub motor on it. Probably the Cobra that everybody's gonna buy anyway. So this bike is here courtesy of Himiway today. They sent me the bike so I could ride, test, put my user experience out here on YouTube for all of you to use, maybe help you to decide if this is the bike for you or not. So I'm gonna cover everything today. I'm gonna show you all the pieces of this bike up close so you can get a real good look at it. I'll talk about the performance, show you clips of top speed, off-roading, hill climb, all that good stuff, show you how this operates in the wild. And then at the end, I will try to wrap it up and tell you everything I think the average consumer might need to know if they're gonna consider buying the Cobra bike. So let's get going. Hey guys, be sure to check out a link to this bike below and also to Himiway's official Facebook account. Give that a follow and also comment on this video with your feedback on the Cobra bike. Tell us what you think because 3 lucky commenters will receive a special gift from Himiway. All right, we're checking out the Himiway Cobra bike, and this is one aggressive looking bike. I love it. Right now, current retail price $23.99. Just this one frame style, just the dual suspension frame style. And it comes in 2 different paint schemes though. You can get the King Cobra, which is what this is. It's kind of like a carbon fiber snakeskin type deal on there. Or you can get the Forest Cobra, which is more of a green camo look. Now let me hit you with some fast facts right off the bat here. Let's go rapid fire. So the minimum seat height, 34.5 inches, and that is from the ground to the top of the seat. Standover height, about 33 inches. This bike weighs 88 pounds, pretty heavy bike. Payload capacity, that was 400 pounds. That is a lot. Not many bikes will carry that much weight, so 400 pound payload capacity on this bike. It has a torque sensor, 20 amp hour battery pack. Handlebars from the ground to the top of the bars is about 45 inches. Now let's start checking out some things up close. First thing you're gonna notice is these giant tires. They are CST tires, 26 by 4.8, so larger than normal. Most of the time you're getting 4-inch fat tires. You're getting 4.8 on this bike. I love it. I love that Himiway went this route. They went with the fattest fat tires that you can get. These look amazing. The tread pattern's pretty aggressive, but surprisingly, it's not any louder than the normal 4-inch wide tires on the road. It still hums going down the road, but it's not excessively loud. I think they knocked it out of the park with the fat tires. I mean, for me, the fatter, the better. People love the fat tires. I know some people just don't get it. They're like, why do you want these gigantic fat tires on a bike? They're heavy, they're loud, they have a lot of rolling resistance. It just looks cool, man. This bike just looks cool and aggressive. And I've heard numerous times from multiple age people that the fat tires, they just make them feel more planted, more stable on the ground. Like they can cross over varied terrain and feel more confident doing it. So I think it's the look and just that confidence of having the wide footprint that people love the fat tires. It's a quick release front wheel. You've got disc brakes, full hydraulic disc brakes, Tektro disc brakes. They're great. No problems there with the braking power, and you need that. Hydraulics are becoming the standard on these fat tire bikes, and you know, when the bike weighs 90 pounds almost, and you got a motor on it, you need hydraulic brakes, you need the stopping power. So I'm glad that they went with those. For your front suspension, you've got an RST Guide front fork. That's a good fork. It's really smooth. I like the way it operates. A lot of these fat tire bikes, you'll see them kind of cheap out on that component and put a really cheap front fork on the bike. They didn't do that here. Obviously, that's where the money was spent on this bike, is the suspension. That's one of the standout features. RST Guide, that is a good fork. I'm happy with the performance of it. You do have your preload and lockout adjustments up here on the top. Cobra comes standard with a headlight. There's a good look at it. It's a nice looking headlight, and it gives you enough light to do some nighttime rides. If you're going to be off-road through the darkness of the middle of the woods and doing a lot of nighttime riding, you're probably going to end up adding some auxiliary lights to your bike anyway. But for the amount of nighttime riding I think most people do, this is going to be perfectly fine for that. You can see at the front here we got a little bit of a spaghetti mess of wires. I think these could have been wrapped a little bit better. You could always buy some of this aftermarket wire wrap and clean it up yourself a little bit. E-bikes just have a lot of wires, so you end up with a lot of times this kind of mess at the front of the bike. But there's a lot of slack here too though. If you wanted to raise the handlebars any, you could. There's plenty of slack to do that. But now let's pivot around to the other side, take a look at what's going on the handlebars. Rubber grips with the palm rest. I like these way better than the leather, fake leather wrap ones that spin in your hand constantly. These are nice. Soft rubber, good palm rest, and then they also have the locking ring right here, so you can slide these off and on easily or adjust them to your liking, and then they lock into place very securely so there's no spinning in your hand. So good upgrade on that. 7 speeds Shimano shifter there. All the shifting's done with your thumb. Got a bell. On this side you have a left hand thumb throttle and your control panel for the display screen. Let me see if I can block out some sunlight here for you. All right, let's turn on the display for you. This is the display that Himiway uses on almost every single one of their bikes, I believe. Every single bike has the same display. It's a good display. It's not color. It's black and white display, but it is large and readable. Gives you everything you need. Miles per hour, really big here. Your battery life, pedal assist, odometer. And then it also has the great features of being very programmable, which I love. Not every e-bike will do this for you. The Himiway bike does it. That's one of the, great things about this screen for the Himiways is you can go in and you can adjust your pedal assist settings and really fine tune things. And I'm going to show you really quick how to do it. Just hit plus and minus. It'll take you into the first programming screen, which is your trip reset. So this is how you toggle between yes and no, hitting your setting your trip tick back to 0. Now to get into the pedal assist settings, you hit plus and minus again. And this will take you into the next stage of the programming, and you got to put in the password, which is always 0510. So I'm using plus and minus to toggle between the numbers and the I button to select. So once we get that password typed in, it'll let us in here. Now this isn't the most user-friendly display. You kind of gotta download the manual and read it. It's the KD51C, I believe, is the manual. So go download that. I'll tell you exactly how to do what I'm doing right now. And then if you use plus and minus, you'll toggle through these screens here. The second screen is SCA, I guess. I don't know what that stands for, but that's your pedal assist settings. So if we hit the I and go into that, you'll see you can select right here. It says 0 through 5. You can change that to, if you want 7 levels, or 9 levels. You can pick however many levels of pedal assist you want, which I think is amazing. I like mine at 5, so I'm just going to leave it at 5. If you hit the I again, it takes you in, and now it'll let you program how much power you want in each setting. So you can see right now I've got 5 levels, and in level 1 it's giving me 27% of the power. You can bump that up. If that's too little, you can bump it up to how you want to go, or you can take it down. If it was too much power in pedal assist 1, you can go all the way down to, it goes all the way down low into the single digits. So you can put it wherever you like. I'm just going to leave it at, just put it at 27 again. Hit I, it'll go to the next level. See, level 2 is giving me 42%. Level 3, I've got it programmed to give me 58% of the power. So you can really fine tune this, and especially if you have 9 levels. You can really dial this bike in and get the pedal assist to give you exactly how much power you want. So this is not a feature that most e-bikes have. Great that Himiway gives you this. So I'm going to back out of here. You just hold the I key and that backs you out. So go out one stage, hold the I again, back out another. Now if you want to know how to change the speed on it, I'll do that really fast too. So hit plus and minus for a few seconds. Takes you into this trip reset screen again. But you're going to hold minus and I next for a couple seconds, and it'll take you into a different menu. Again, you got to put in the password, so let's punch that in. So 0 5 1 0, and now we're in. So you can set your wheel size here, or you can set your LS. I guess that's limit of speed, and you can see 40 kilometers an hour. That is the max. It won't go up from there. Translate to mile per hour. That's about 24 miles an hour. That is your maximum speed on this bike. So I'll just long press I and back out of here. And now we're back to the regular screen. So I think that's all that's happening up here on the handlebars. Again, left-hand thumb throttle. I know that's not going to be a lot of people's favorite, but you could change this. It's really easy to just unplug this, plug in a twist throttle, and switch it on this side if you wanted to twist, which I'll probably eventually end up doing to this bike because I like the twist a little bit better. But easy change to make. I wouldn't let that keep me from buying the bike at all. Now hiding in your frame right here is your battery pack. 48 volt 20 amp hour battery pack. That's pretty big for an e-bike. 20 amp hours. A lot more bikes are going that route, giving you a bigger battery pack from the start. I love it. So that's pretty large, and it just you put a key in the other side, turn this lever, and it'll drop out the front here so you can charge it off the bike or on the bike, whatever your preference is. I know people are going to want to know, what's the range? How far can you go on that? Well, let's just say the websites are always pretty ambitious with their ranges that they list. I did a range test on the Zebra bike, which is kind of similar to this from Himiway, has the same battery pack, same powertrain, and I got about 40 miles of riding that aggressively. And I thought that was pretty respectable because I really don't ride more than probably 15-20 miles at the most on any given ride. So being able to go 40 and more than adequate for myself and probably most people out there. Okay, next thing I want to point out is you can see this bike has no front or rear fenders on it at all. It does not come standard with any fenders, and there are no fenders to purchase on the Himiway website for this bike. They do not make fenders for the Cobra bike. So if you wanted fenders, you'd have to find some kind of aftermarket solution and put them on yourself. Same with the rear rack. There's no rear rack here. There are mounting points right here on the frame for a rack, but again, Himiway does not have a rack designed for this bike. They don't sell one on their website. I don't know if they're going to in the future, but if you wanted a rack on this bike, you're gonna have to come up with your own solution there. I hope that that's something that they come up with in the future. I'd love to see them design a set of more aggressive looking off-road style fenders for this bike instead of the large, huge grandpa wraparound fenders with the wire that connect. I'm not a huge fan of those. I'd love to see them get more of a like dirt bike style kind of fender package for this bike. I think they'd sell a lot of those on their website if they came up with that. And the rear rack too, I really want to have them design a rear rack for this bike. I feel that most people ride an e-bike want to be able to carry some cargo with them. The rear rack's the most common place to do that. And also too, with the way this bike is set up with the aggressive tires, the off-road suspension, I feel like people are going to maybe use this for hunting, right? Traveling in the woods, and they're going to want to pack in some equipment, some things with them. I really feel like a rear rack would be a great addition to this bike if they can come up with that. All right, let's talk about the paint job on this bike. It is so cool looking. This carbon fiber weave, it is a really cool paint job. I think it's more of like a hydro dip paint job on this bike. And you can see the seams on it though. So if you can look right there, I don't know if it comes through in the light, but there's a seam that runs down the top here. There's another seam, I think, on the side of this top bar right here. Hard to see in the light. The seam that runs along there, you can feel it with your finger as well. And there's a seam on the headset. So I don't know if this is part of that like hydro dip process. There's one that runs right down the center of that. I'm not exactly sure how they do this paint job. And I've got this love-hate relationship with the paint because I think it looks fantastic. It looks so sick in person. I love the paint. However, it's not durable. That's my main issue with this paint, is it's not going to be durable. I've only got about 40 miles on this bike, and I've already got, that was a nick from shipping. There's another little scratch nick right there that shows up well. And then right here, there's no chain slap protector, and it's just destroyed right there. That's not mud or dirt, that's paint chips, where this chain coming down hitting the frame has just chipped all along here. So I'm gonna have to get some of that clear plastic, even right here where it's rubbing. You can see the chain comes down and hits right there. So it's destroyed this paint right there. I'm gonna have to get some of that clear protective film to put on there. I wish I would have thought of that sooner, but it's a great looking paint job. It's just, I wish that they would have thrown a clear coat over top of it, some kind of protective clear coat to keep it nice. So it looks amazing, I love it, but it needs to be a little bit more durable, I feel. All right, so on the Cobra Pro, the one with the mid-drive, your mid-drive motor is gonna hang out in here. But this is just the regular Cobra. It's a rear hub motor back there in the wheel. So inside here is where your controller, the brains of the bike are hiding inside here. There's also a torque sensor on this bike. I was shocked to not even see that on their website. I didn't realize it till I was riding the bike. Oh my God, this bike has a torque sensor, not a cadence sensor, which is a big upgrade. Most fat tire bikes don't give you that. They give you the cadence sensor, which just means the bike recognizes when the pedals are turning. This bike recognizes how hard you're pushing and gives you power accordingly. It's a much better system, I feel. Makes you feel more connected to the bike. So torque sensor on this bike, good upgrade. You have a single-sided front chain guard, and I believe this is a 44 tooth. And then in the back, you've got, I believe, a 1428. So that's your gearing on the bike. All right, now it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. Look at this suspension. Fantastic. Branded Himiway right there, but amazing. I'm just gonna summarize it by saying amazing. I have had other full suspension e-bikes. None of them have come close to the ride quality that this Cobra has. It's fantastic. You can tell that is where the money was spent on this bike, to give it a fantastic suspension. You got the RST guides up front, and then you've got this air shock right here, with your, right here's like your little valve stem where you can input however much pressure you want and make the suspension stiffer or softer. I have monkeyed around with it a little bit and put about, I think it was like 140, 150 pounds of pressure in there to get the ride quality I like. It started out a little too spongy. It had so much travel, but I stiffened it up a little bit and it still soaks up everything, but it's a little bit firmer. So you can adjust this to your liking. You just have to have a air compressor that's going to fit on here and a way to keep track of how much air you're putting into the shock. You don't want to overdo it, but I mean, I'm not a suspension expert, but gosh, this is a nice suspension on this bike. Just the ride quality, phenomenal off-road. It soaks up everything. You don't even have to stand up off the seat. And the seat, not my favorite seat. It's okay. You know, it's pretty flat and it has these springs in here, but they don't really do much, honestly. It's kind of a stiff seat. I like the softer seats, but the suspension is so squishy, you don't even notice the seat, honestly. But that is most certainly the standout feature of this bike, the suspension on this thing. There's all kinds of different, I mean, look at all the pivot points that you've got on this thing. It's flexing everywhere and really giving you a nice ride on the Cobra. I enjoyed every minute riding on this bike. But I think that brings us to the final piece of this bike, which is going to be the rear hub motor. So 750 watt rear hub motor. I did ask the brand. I mean, it says on the casing Himiway, but there is a Bafang motor in here. And looking at the casing, I'm going to guess it's the G062 motor, for those of you who know what that means. So I believe that's the motor in here. I know it's a Bafang. They told me it was a Bafang, and it's a 750 watt. I believe it peaks at 1,000 watts though. And now I think it's time to show you what this bike is capable of. So let's take a look at some of the performance footage I took doing top speeds and hill climbs and off-roading with the Cobra. All right, we'll round this turn here and see if we can't give you a top speed run. See how fast it goes on throttle only. Right there, 24.7, you feel it cut out. Won't let you go any faster than that on throttle. Almost 25. All right, hill climb on the Himiway Cobra bike. This is a 750 watt motor. The fastest 750 watt bikes have gone up this hill around 22 seconds flat. So we'll see how the Cobra does. We're on pedal assist 5. That doesn't matter because we're not pedaling. We're just gonna throttle only. See how quick it goes. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Slow off the line, but it's building nicely now. I don't think it'll be the fastest, but it'll be a respectable time. No problem climbing this hill. I mean, it's going up it pretty easily. Steepest spot right there, and here's where you cut the time right there. Not bad. Not bad at all. Climb the hill just fine. If you're gonna pedal too, it's gonna go up even faster than that. So I'm happy with that. Good showing. So there's one other thing I've been really enjoying about this Cobra bike, and that is that it has a torque sensor instead of a cadence sensor for the pedal assist, which is amazing. If you don't know the difference, so the cadence sensor just recognizes, there's little magnets down by the pedals, and it recognizes the pedals are spinning, and it just starts dumping power into the motor, right? So if you're in pedal assist 1 and you start pedaling, it's like, oh, the pedals are turning, and it drags you up to like 10 miles an hour, and then the motor cuts out. Right? And if you go to pedal assist 2, it'll drag you all the way up to like 15, 16 miles an hour, and then the motor cuts out. This bike doesn't do that. It doesn't keep track of the pedals are turning. It keeps track of how much pressure you're putting on the pedals. That's what it's measuring. How hard are you pushing on the pedals? So it's a much more, you feel so much more connected to the bike because the power it delivers is based on how hard you're pushing, right? It's just kind of amplifying your pedaling. Most fat tire bikes don't give you that. I can't say that I've had another one. Every fat tire bike I've been on other than this has had a cadence sensor, and this is so much better, so much better. Let me try to demonstrate a couple things for you. The first thing is I'm in pedal assist 1 now. So with a cadence, it would just start giving me a bunch of power until it drug me up to 10 miles an hour and then cut out. This bike doesn't do that. You can ride it nice and slow, and when I start pushing, it starts giving me more power, and it'll keep delivering power until I stop pedaling. It doesn't cut out at a mile per hour mark. So even if I run it up to 20 miles an hour, there, I'm going 16, it's still giving me power. It's giving me level 1 power, but it gives me the power all the way through, not just up to a certain mile per hour mark. So that's a much better system. I like that a lot better. You don't have to monkey with the pedal assist buttons so much on this bike. Same thing, here's another thing too, when you're riding in traffic, let's say here, we go to pedal assist 5. If I start pedaling, we can just casually pedal 5 miles an hour in pedal assist 5. You cannot do this on a cadence sensor bike. It would just be dumping loads and loads of power into the motor, and you'd be taking off and it would be dragging you up to 25 miles an hour. This one doesn't do that. If I start pushing though, then it takes right off with level 5 power. So it's it's a better system, and in my opinion, I like it better. All right, it's time for our extreme off-roading portion. All right, let's just whip through this mess of an open field again. See how it does. I'm kind of curious. I was through here one other time on a different bike. I'm going throttle only right now. I'm not really pedaling, but this foot tall thick grass it's slowing me down pretty good. I can't do this throttle only. I'm gonna have to pedal to help it. Really tall, thick, bushy grass. Like, wow, look at that stuff. Okay, whoa. The problem there is, oh, that's way too thick. Okay, that's way too thick. I want to show you what I'm riding through right now to give you an idea of the depth of this grass. I mean, it was plowing through that, but as I'm turning the pedals are getting caught in the grass. But it can get through it. You're gonna have to pedal. If you're in this deep stuff like this, like really, who's riding in this stuff? I don't think anybody's really riding in this kind of terrain. You're gonna be fine on dirt trails, forest roads, even going through the woods. This bike is getting me through here, no problem. But yeah, off-roading, check. They can do it. The best thing is the suspension. I'm just gonna blast down through here. So smooth. Yep, that's the standout feature. Suspension. You don't even have to get up. I'm not even off the seat. I'm just sitting on the seat. You can hear my voice. I'm still able to talk, even going over all these like ridiculous bumps. You hear that rattling? That's the kickstand. That is the kickstand rattling. So I guess if you were doing some like serious off-roading all the time, and this is going to be your off-road rig, maybe you get like a little bungee cord to hold the kickstand up tighter. There you go. I mean, they hum a little bit, but I thought they'd be way louder than this. What is this? Is this a trail right here? I don't know. This looks really thin. Oh, I need to clean my brakes. They're squealing a little. I feel like all I ever do is clean brakes on bicycles. Let's go. I guess, all right, we're going to do single track test now, apparently. I've never been on this. Where does this go? The handlebars on this bike are a little bit narrower than some others, so I guess that's good for squeezing between these trees like this. Oh, that is cool. Look at all the rocks. I wonder what this is. This is a bike trail or walking trail, and where does it go? This way? See, there's a bridge over here. Let's go this way. It's getting through here just fine. You got really good grip in the tires. That tread pattern is really grippy. I don't know where in the world this is going. And there's a tree down. Here's where the weight of your e-bike comes into play. All right, I'm gonna have to lift 80 pounds over the tree. I'm still able-bodied enough to do that. This looks really sketchy. Where does this go? We are exploring. This is exactly why you buy an e-bike, though, to just explore stuff, right? I'm hoping I come across the greenway again here at some point. There's offshoots going everywhere. I may have to take one. All right. I see the light. I'm stuck because there's a fence there and I can't pick 88 pounds up over the fence. I'm gonna have to find another route. Let's turn around. That's how I turn around. I don't know how you turn around. Okay, this might be the most off-roading I've ever tested on a bike. Whew. That was actually kind of a workout. All right, let's get out of here. Back to civilization. That's good to know that's there. May explore that further later. All right. I'm just sitting down in the seat. Smooth as butter. You can hear the kickstand rattling, but you don't really hear my post rattling all that much. Yeah, this would be just absolutely brutal on a hardtail bike. You wouldn't be able to sit on the seat at all. I'd just be shaking the teeth out of your head. No problem for this one. All right, so to summarize performance for you a little bit, maximum speed, you're gonna get just a hair under 25 miles an hour with the Cobra bike. The hill climb performance, I mean, it's right there with all the other fat tire bikes in this category, maybe a little closer to the front of the pack. It had a pretty good showing on the hill climb. I believe it peaks around 1,000 watts. So it does what an e-bike is supposed to do, right? It takes the effort out of going uphill, and that suspension just soaks up everything, which makes the off-road ride so much fun. And I think the only thing I wish it had was the fender or a rack on the back, so I didn't have the mud spraying up on the back of the bike, on the back of me as well. The torque sensor, love it. I love the torque sensor. I enjoyed that. I wish they would highlight that on their website, actually, because I didn't even know it was on this bike until I rode it. And one thing I want to circle back to real quick, I didn't talk about, was ride positioning. So it has a little bit of an aggressive ride position, which is not shocking given the way this bike looks and what it's, I think, meant to do. So you've got the handlebar piece here that sticks out a little bit, and it kind of stretches you out a little. And you could adjust that if you wanted. You could put a shorter one of these in here. You could put handlebars on that have a bigger rise in them if you wanted to be a little bit more upright. I didn't really notice it being uncomfortable as I rode, but typically I like to be more upright, so I might put a little taller set of handlebars on it eventually. I had my wife try the bike as well. She was able to get on the Cobra. She's not a huge fan of the big 26-inch bikes. She's only 5'3", so she finds them difficult to ride, but she was able to mount this bike and go for a quick ride to test it out. If you're a confident short rider, you'll have no issue with this bike. She's just not confident being on a large bike like this, but that's something to keep in mind. All right, as promised, here's what I think you need to know about the Cobra bike. Number one is there's no rack or fenders for the bike. Keep that in mind if you're looking for a bike that's gonna be able to carry cargo. You have to carry a backpack with you or make your own rack for this bike. No rack and fenders included, and they don't sell it on the website for this bike either. Next is the paint. I think the paint job is amazing. However, I don't think it's gonna be very durable. It seems to scratch pretty easily. So buy yourself some of that clear protective film to put over the parts that you don't want to get scratched. Next thing is the bike has a torque sensor and not a cadence sensor. So go out, do some research, find out the differences between that so you know, but I do think the torque sensor is a better system. Left hand thumb throttle on this bike. I know that'll be big for a lot of people. Some people don't like the thumbs, some people like the twist. You can switch it out if you wanted to. Not a huge issue, but this does have a thumb throttle on it. Next thing I'll say is the weight, 88 pounds. It's a pretty heavy bike, so keep in mind, can you lift 88 pounds? You saw in that off-roading section where I had to lift the bike over a downed tree. You gotta be able to make sure that you can lift that much weight. Display programming. It doesn't have a color display, but it is large, readable, and it's got the ability to adjust your pedal assist settings to your liking, and I know Himiway owners love that about those bikes. And last but certainly not least, suspension. This baby rides like a dream. You want a bike that's got a cushy suspension and a very nice ride? Cobra's got it. All right, well, that is everything I can think of to tell you about the Cobra bike. If I missed something, drop it in the comment section. I will do my best to answer it if I can. I'll link the bike in the description below so you can find it easily. I'm also gonna put a bunch of other information in the description for you to check out. If you're intrigued by the Cobra, go to Himiway's website, check out all their lineup. They have several different fat tire bikes to pick from. You just might find one you're looking for. I think that's all for today. I hope you found this informative, helpful, maybe help you in your buying decision. If you did, definitely give me a like, hit that subscribe button, and check back for more content soon. Thanks.